It's arresting a mailman for drunk driving after he hit several cars, a building, and a person with his mail truck in East Longmeadow today. Welcome everyone to Western Mass News at 10. I'm Amanda Martin Ryan. That postal worker going before a judge this afternoon, just hours after his arrest this morning. Western Mass News reporter Addie Patterson joining us live in studio with details from inside the courtroom. Addie?
Amanda, it was just before 10 a.m. this morning when police say 54-year-old Robert O'Sullivan got behind the wheel and smashed that mail truck into several cars at a local gas station before taking off. But the story doesn't end there. Several 911 calls made to East Longmeadow police Tuesday morning reporting a crash involving a U.S. Postal Service mail truck and a pedestrian at the Pride gas station near the Center Rotary in town. Callers reporting that the mail truck took off heading north on Elm Street and that the injured pedestrian was still by one of the gas pumps. Eyewitnesses telling police the mail truck nearly missed them and some employees before hitting multiple vehicles and taking off.
Witness at the scene who had been across the street said he observed the U.S. Postal Service mail truck cross 2 lanes of traffic, mount the curb, strike multiple road signs, and then crash into the wall of the truck.
The 30-year-old pedestrian was seriously hurt but in stable condition, continuing to recover at the hospital. Soon after the gas station incident, the People's Bank on North Main Street in East Longmeadow reported a mail truck crashed into its building. Responding officers found 54-year-old Robert O'Sullivan, confirming him as a Postal Service employee. Police also determining the mail truck was the same one that had hit the pedestrian at the Pride station.
The defendant was asked if he had consumed any alcohol. He admitted that he had vodka in a cooler located inside the postal truck, and he confirmed that he had had a little bit, quote unquote, earlier in the day. The defendant, his eyes were glassy and bloodshot, and that they also know he had difficulty maintaining balance, had to use his arm against the surface to steady himself.
Western Mass News cameras were the only ones rolling as O'Sullivan was arraigned in Palmer District Court that same day, answering to multiple charges, including operating under the influence of alcohol. His attorney claims there isn't enough evidence to prove that.
There's very little here to substantiate that he was drunk. There's really no field sobriety test. There was a horizontal gaze test, and that's it. And that is, as we all know, inadmissible at trial. Surprisingly, he was not offered the portable breath test.
After entering a not guilty plea, O'Sullivan had his bail set at $100,000. Meantime, authorities are continuing to investigate the incident. Our newsroom did also reach out to USPS for comment, but tonight we're still awaiting a response. Reporting live in studio, Addie Patterson, Western Mass News.